Hello everyone, my name's Roman, and this is...
I'm Luke.
Today's episode is going to be about ghosts. I felt like it was a good topic to start off on, because I think everybody has an experience with like ghosts, right?
Wow, I've never personally met one, but I think it would be a pretty cool interaction.
Me too. Never had an experience, so we're the best people to be having this conversation right now.
Honestly, I don't really believe in ghosts. I mean, I want to, but all these videos you see online and these little ghost hunting shows, they're hard to believe. They could be either just, edited in afterwards or, a scam. Somebody's trying to make you believe in it.
But do you have like any, like a personal experience, or I know I have a relative's experience. But...
Not me personally, but at my old house that my dad built in the middle of nowhere, both my sisters on two separate occasions swore they saw a shadowy figure in their room at night. At least once, both of them did on two separate occasions, and they were all freaked out whenever they told the other about it. I mean, I looked online earlier, it's one of the most common ghost types you can see, so...
Yeah, but like, were they like known to be like the mediums of the family, or ones that had like a spiritual connection? Like, or were they just...
My sister believes she does, so...
I do have an aunt that is that way, where she's kind of like the family medium that has that connection. Just to put it out there first, I agree with Luke. I don't really have much belief in ghosts. I mean, I have theories and stuff, and we'll get to that at the end, but it's not like ghosts in the traditional sense that it's dead relatives from the afterlife. Well, it kind of is, but no, I have that relative that is like that, and she's told me that she's seen those shadowy figures again.
Well, I mean, here's how I see it. If you truly want to believe in something, then you're gonna start seeing signs that it's actually there, when in reality you're just seeing things. So, like, the more you believe in something, the more common you see things agreeing with your point of view.
You know, humans, they love to connect things and find patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it was situations where it was like, yeah, she would see a dark, shadowy figure, and that's really easy to say, but also it's like, even when she was really young, it was, like, relatives that had passed away in her family that, maybe I never even knew, but she would just say, like, hi to them when they obviously weren't around anymore, and that would freak out everybody. But it was never like, oh, they're here to haunt us or something. It was always just like, oh, they're trying to say hi from the afterlife. So I find that very sweet, and that, honestly, like, kids and dogs having reactions to paranormal things.
And cats too. They always stare into the corner.
Animals in general, really. Those are the two closest things that'll get me to being, like, somewhat of a skeptic.
I'll admit, animals acting strange whenever there's nothing there is pretty fishy, but I don't want to see that and immediately say, oh no, it's a ghost.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that if there's going to be something that's going to lead me into believing, or like finding evidence, it's going to be those, like, children or animals, like, reacting to something that you can't see.
The moment a kid comes up to me and says something that they have no possible way of knowing, and they say that they learned it from, like, a dead relative of mine, then I'll lean more towards believing them if there's, no other way they could have learned it.
Yeah, and that also leads into, like, stories you hear about, like, reincarnation, essentially, where it's like a kid will just, like, a very young child will just, like, tell the story of, like, this person who passed away before they were born. So it's almost like they reuse their soul, like reincarnation. You hear stories like that all the time.
Reincarnation is a pretty cool thought. If I had one belief that I would like to believe in, it would be reincarnation, but, kind of iffy on that. And another thing, it's very possible they just have a very vivid dream. I mean, unless there's physical proof that they're talking about a real person.
All right, so now that we've sort of covered sort of like, our personal stances and stories that we had,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about one of my favorite like ghost-related stories, even though I may not believe in it. Just the real life.
Can I say it?
You can say it.
Winchester Manor. Was it
okay.
a good accent?
Yes.
All right.
If you don't know what the Winchester Manor is, though, Sarah Winchester is her name. So she was the wife of like. She's more important to the story because she was like the wife of some gun manufacturer or a guy who owned the company.
You might have heard of Winchester guns before.
Oh wait, okay, here's the name. William Wirt Winchester, and he was a firearms magnate. And I don't know what triggered it, essentially, no pun intended, but she just sort of went insane at the thought of how many people had died at the hands of guns manufactured by her family. And she thought that the ghosts of these people were possessing her home in San Jose, California. And so to confuse the ghost and make them just as lost as possible, she just constructed the house into just a giant maze. She kept adding and adding and adding. It's like a famous tourist destination to this day in San Jose. Can you tour it? Do you know?
I do not.
Let me look this up.
I know I've read about it whenever I was a child, so this story has been around for a long, at least, yeah, it's for a while now, at least like 15 years, I suppose.
Yeah, and you may have like heard about it through the movie. I forget, they had like an actress in it that's pretty famous. She was like the star. Can you tour?
I mean,
Yes. Well,
it's very possible she was schizophrenic. I mean, what else is a rich schizophrenic gonna do except build a giant maze of a mansion? I think I would do that.
Yeah, you would be the type to do that. From what I'm seeing though is that you can do a tour, but it's only like a small portion of rooms that you can look through. Regardless, you can just go look at the outside, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I just want to bring that up because it's one of my favorite ghost stories, because like I like the ghost stories where like regardless of if you believe in ghosts or not, there's something there. There's a house that you can go see, and it's like there's just stairs that lead to nowhere and just rooms that repeat and just like trapdoors and stuff for no reason other than to confuse ghosts in her eyes.
There's probably gonna be a secret door that leads to the secret ghost sex dungeon. How about those there's the movies that they're based on real stories, like
oh yeah, what's the series The Warrens called? Is it The Conjuring?
Yeah, The Conjuring.
Or is it Paranormal? No, that's the one with the found camera.
There's Paranormal Activity, The Conjuring. There's one more that I just can't remember.
We're segueing to movies because there, like I said, there is a Winchester Manor movie. I think it's just called Winchester.
Isn't the Blair Witch Project also one of those kind of movies, like the?
Well, I think it's a witch. I don't think it's ghost. I think it's a witch.
Fair enough. Then there's also Carrie, and then what's the one with the Annabelle?
Carrie's about ghosts. I never seen
Carrie. A demon. She's possessed by something.
What's
you
her
never
name?
saw it. You told whatever. Anyway, the Annabelle doll. She doesn't look like that in the movie. She's not some porcelain doll with red hair and a blue dress. Well, she does have red hair and a blue dress, but she's not a porcelain doll. She's like this little stuffed person. Doesn't even look like a person. Like a cartoon representation of a person.
Anyway, yeah, no, I'm trying to find out. It is The Conjuring, right? With the Warrens.
Yeah, The Conjuring. Okay. The one we watched recently was The Devil Made Me Do It, right?
Yeah. That one. That's another like cool like real life story where it's like, didn't they say at the end of the movie that the court ruling was that he was actually possessed, and so he was acquitted? Spoiler alert. I think, I don't know.
Oh yeah, in case that wasn't clear.
It came out like a year ago, but anyway, there was after it came out that movie, I remember saying they like joked about using the Annabelle doll like to get like evidence out of somebody. They're like, you lie to us, we'll get Annabelle. And I find that very funny because then I started thinking of a movie series concept where the Warrens just go around and like collect demons and spirits and stuff, and then just use them like Pokemon to go catch other demons.
I believe there's like this old Eastern way of making poisons where they put a whole bunch of poisons into this one jar, and then whatever comes out of it is the most poisonous. And I believe there was something that had to do with ghosts that followed a similar concept, unless I'm just thinking of Mob Psycho where they did that.
What culture is this?
Well, like Eastern, Asian.
It's a lot. It's a lot to choose from.
Well, I don't. You want me to just start listening?
I think this is a good moment to say that we don't do research. We're looking at a poorly worded Google document, so bear with us. But
we're getting a bit off track here. Movies.
Hey, this
ghosts.
is a chill show. We're fine. But yeah, no. I what I wanted to segue to is Ghost Adventures, which I do not watch. But if you're a fan of Red Letter Media, I highly suggest you go watch them. One of their main hosts, Mike Sokwasa, is a big fan, and so I know of it through him, and just honestly amazed that that show has, I think it's like 26 seasons, and nothing more than a brick flying across the room. And if you look at it close enough, you can just see the string.
Y'all know those videos when you're scrolling through the internet at 3 a.m. Those top 10 scary ghost videos. Those are some really spooky videos they have there, and some of them are pretty well made. You can't tell me that those are real. I mean, it's hard to believe.
It's almost better than Ghost Adventures, honestly. But no, we want to do a whole episode about this in the future, which is just like YouTube or like early 2000s nostalgia, because I just have very vivid memories of like early elementary school, sitting at my friend's house like on a summer evening, and just like sitting on their home computer, where like just like in their kitchen, and just watching those like top 10 videos of ghost sightings, or like top 10 reasons the megalodon still exists.
One I used to listen to all the time because it didn't have footage, but it was Mr. Nightmare. He would tell these spooky stories like about people who had like break-ins whenever they were at home alone, or ghosts walking the streets of their town. Just people send in personal stories of something weird happening to them, and he tells it in a spooky environment.
But back then I wasn't even watching like YouTubers. I was just clicking on whatever thumbnail caught my eye. But I know you want to talk about one channel in particular, but one that I don't necessarily watch it, but Chills is, I know, a really popular one at the moment. He's the Burger King foot lettuce guy, surprisingly. The same guy. I think he also, not hosted, but was like the announcer or something for the recent Creator Clash. Did you follow that?
No, I did not.
There was a huge boxing match for a bunch of different like content creators.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Not Logan Paul and
yeah, I know, but I've heard of that once.
iDubbbz was in it, and like
iDubbbz, really?
Yeah, he organized it.
And they're like beating the crap out of each other?
Yeah, he got like a really bad black eye, broke his nose. I don't know if he broke his nose, but
damn.
And then somebody from the H3 podcast was there. I'm trying to think who else.
Anybody that I care for?
You don't really religiously watch many YouTubers, at least as much as I do.
No,
So
I mostly, most of them are, I don't want to say small, since they have like, thousands of people following them, but I can't, like, if I bring them up in a conversation with someone, 9 times out of 10 they don't know who I'm talking about.
yeah.
If I mention someone like Markiplier or Jacksepticeye, everybody knows those guys.
They weren't major content creator. I mean, iDubbbz is, but like, I think he had his prime, and so now he's doing this now, which is super cool. But I know Ethan from H3H3 was challenged to do it, and they want him to fight Keemstar, but that's never gonna happen.
Ooh, my bet's on Keemstar.
I don't care how much you think he's gonna win. You can't put your bets on Keemstar. We can't support him on this channel. I'm putting my foot down.
I don't even know Keemstar. I don't know what he does.
If you know who Keemstar is, you know what he's done. Anyway.
I hear he's... Well, I don't want to talk about it.
We literally cannot get into it on here. Anyway. So yeah, Chills, to get back on track, he's the Burger King foot lettuce guy. I hate that's what he's known for. He probably does a lot of great work. He does, and I used to watch him a lot. And he's, you know, I think he's most famous for his like top 10 videos, especially like ghost and paranormal stuff. But I think he just did like fast food crimes, and that's where the meme came from. But anyway, you wanted to talk about a YouTuber as well.
Nuke Top 5. He's the one I usually go to for spooky videos. But there are a few of them that I really liked and thought were impressively made if they weren't real. But there's one where the guy has camera and there's like a little kid poking his face out of his like little wardrobe. Then he runs up to get to it and he opens it and the kid's not there. That was very cool.
I also like the videos where it's not necessarily ghost, where it's like, oh, it's a shadow moving around, or it's like, this person died here. I like it when it's like goblin sighting and it's this little elf creature running out of somebody's closet and a bunch of kids go, ah! It's the most hilarious thing. Have you seen videos like that?
A long time ago.
It's like the size of their cat.
I haven't seen any recently.
It's got very much the energy from Signs, the movie. We'll get into aliens.
What movie?
Signs.
Never heard.
It's got Joaquin Phoenix in it.
I don't know actors, Roman.
It's alien.
That's the Joker, though.
It's the Joker, but it's also the movie where the aliens they can't touch water.
Oh, I saw that as
that one. It's that you've seen the clip. It's where it like walks out from behind the bush, and then they're at like a birthday party, and I used to be terrified of it as a kid. I literally would like cry if I saw it on TV, but now I watch it. It's so fun. But okay. Well, anyway, back to nukes.
Watching those videos and putting myself in those situations, like, oh, what if this was real and I was that person there experiencing it all? That is a terrifying concept. So whenever I watch these videos and the people aren't acting like I believe they would in a real life situation, it's just, I can't believe them, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to find good actors.
I can't think of the like specific channels, but I just know there are a bunch of YouTube channels out there too where it's just like they have done everything but explicitly state that they're hiring actors, and it's just such a joke. And it's, you know, like there's so much of that I think channels like Chills or Nude Top 5 have sort of become buried a little bit. I haven't compared subscriber count or anything, but like I don't know, it's just so much garbage out there that like these like children on YouTube are just like
gobbling it up
and just watching it over and over and over again. Man. And that's not just like, you know, ghost videos, obviously. I think we all realize that. But
yeah.
All right, so the next topic we kind of wanted to jump into was just like ghost hunting tourism, or just like ghost tourism in general. I know there are like tons of hotels or parks or whatever all across the country that are their selling point is, you know, ghost hunting. But I know, being Louisiana natives, that is very much a part of our culture, especially New Orleans, which I grew up right outside of. And so there are a couple things.
I recently was in New Orleans and saw a group of people going on to one of those haunted graveyard tours, except they never actually stepped foot in the graveyard. They were just walking the perimeter. Which, yeah.
I don't know, I've never done a ghost hunting tour, but I just imagine them in like one of those big buses that you sit in and spot celebrities. Like, oh my gosh, it's the ghost of Marilyn Monroe.
What I want is like actually going into the graveyard in the middle of the night with those little spirit box and EMF readers.
It was a few years ago, I think it was before I knew you, so maybe more than a few years ago. I went to like a haunted corn maze, but there was a point where it like wasn't cornfield anymore, and it was just a forest, and there were no lights and people in realistic costumes with chainsaws. And I was like a 7th grader. I was not having a good
That
time.
sounds terrifying.
But I've grown to really like haunted houses. This is off topic,
Oh.
but
I love haunted houses.
oh, you know what? We're gonna pause the tourism. Well, this is still kind of ghost tourism if you stretch it. Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. We just recently went this past October. I enjoyed it because if you don't know about it, Universal theme park in Orlando, Florida hosts like a Halloween themed event where they make, like on top of the rides that they have in the theme park, they make these themed haunted houses. So like for example, this past year, it changes every year too, but like this past year they had Beetlejuice, they had what are some other like IPs that they had?
There was like this one about dentists.
Yeah, like
Then-
Tooth Fairy, but like what's ones that they had that was like based off of a movie or TV show? Oh, The Haunting of Hill House. That was a good one.
Frankenstein was there. I believe.
Yeah, like the classic Frankenstein. And there was like some other ones, but they'll have like a mix of like ones that are based off movies and TV, and then some that are completely
I
original
know
concepts.
that like Pumpkin Lord was one.
That was original.
And then the puppets. What about the puppets?
I think that was original too. The puppet one and the Bride of Frankenstein one and the Tooth Fairy one, they did like an abbreviated Halloween Horror Nights the previous year because of COVID, and it was just those two. But
And,
they brought
and
them
then
back.
there was like the detective novel one.
Yeah, there's 10 total each year.
We went to Beetlejuice.
And we managed to get all of them. Beetlejuice is my favorite, not the scariest, but I'm just a huge fan of Beetlejuice. And that was fun. But
I gotta say, I loved it, but a critique, since it was COVID, they had these like little, well, I'm assuming it's because of COVID, they had these plastic screens so the actor can't get too close, which just spoiled it. You knew where they were coming most of the time.
I almost think that like, I get having COVID safety protocol, but I just feel like plexiglass was the absolute worst choice
Mhm.
because it was dark in there, but any light that was on was immediately reflected onto it. So you would see it, you would learn to recognize that, okay, here's a scare because I can see like light bouncing off the plexiglass. It was great. The only thing that's like hesitant and keeping me from going is there are a lot of drunk people and like on mobility scooters when they shouldn't be, and like making your ankles bleed because they're running to the back of you.
And
That's just a pet peeve anywhere in Disney or in Universal, but
here's something that kind of runs in my family. We don't do lines. My brother he says that he's never going back to Universal or Disney again because he does not want to stand in a line.
I'm gonna need to chop this conversation off right here because if we start talking about Disney, that's a whole other episode. That's multiple episodes right
I
there.
prefer Universal.
Anyway, back to specifically Louisiana tourism, because that's what I was getting to. New Orleans has huge like voodoo paranormal culture about it that brings in a lot of its tourism.
One of the things I love.
I think second only to its food. If you haven't been here, come to the food. But a couple things I want to cover. I haven't been to any of these.
I have
Oh, which one?
the Museum of Death in New Orleans.
Take it away.
Okay, first thing to bring up, I see it on our list, but the Museum of Death isn't actually a ghost area.
Well, I know it's a stretch, but
It talks about a lot of gruesome topics, about like pictures of, serial killers and the murders they committed. And in the back, there's this is like a shoddy movie theater kind of thing, where you sat at these long pews and they had the screen set up, and on it they played some music in the background while switching past these gruesome accidents, car crashes, murders. And I don't know if I want to say this because, it'll make me out to be a bad person, but should I say it anyways? Anyways,
we
as
have
I
the
was
power of
saying,
editing, but
whenever I was watching that, I have a warped sense of humor, and sort of like helped me process all these gruesome things I was watching. I kept on making little side comments and jokes to myself, which made me start laughing, which, you know, whenever looking at that kind of stuff doesn't reflect well upon you.
It'd be really funny if that was just like a minute of white noise. Anyway, I don't have this on our list, but I want to bring it up before I forget. I have two things that relate to American Horror Story. I know you don't watch that show, but it's the same cast each season, but they like have a different setting, different time period, whatever. One of their seasons. Oh well, I guess this was covered in the same season. Actually, now I think about it, but the Axemen of New Orleans. Why did I say that like I wasn't from here? New Orleans. Was a serial killer active in Gretna, which is right outside of New Orleans, in the early 1900s, and he would go around and axe murder people. Actually, I don't even know if we can say murder. Can we say murder?
I don't know. I was distracted by the thought of, you know, serial killer, like somebody stabbing a cereal box.
Funny. But his stipulation was if you played jazz music out your window all through the night, you'd be spared. That's all you had to do.
Pretty jazzy.
And that's pretty much all the information we have. Secondly, this also was featured in American Horror Story Coven, which was the name of the season. Let me find her name. Marie Delphine McCarthy? Or...
McCarty?
Madame Lalaurie. Bunch of different names she's known by. She would often torture African American slaves in her attic, and her attic sort of became like a tourist attraction because of that. So it's a very unfortunate true story that they based a season of American Horror Story around, where the joke is that she was like cursed to never die, and then she was brought back from the dead to live in modern day. So it was like a weird fish out of water situation. But you can tour this place, and that's sort of how the season started. I forget where it's at. Does it say? Essentially, she was a New Orleans socialite and serial killer who would torture and unalive, I guess we can start saying that now, slaves in her household.
Another thing about the little Museum of Death is that there's not just one in New Orleans. There's, you know, one in Hollywood, one in Los Angeles. Is Hollywood in Los Angeles? Anyway, there's Hollywood, Los Angeles, and New Orleans. There's, you know, one in each of those places. It was established in 1995 by J.D. Healy and Catherine Schultz with the stated goal of to make people happy to be alive, which I am very happy to be alive.
Yes. So if that's all you wanted to cover about New Orleans ghost tourism, I wanted to...
I'm sorry, there's one.
No, go ahead.
Wasn't there a Conjuring movie based in New Orleans?
I haven't seen all the Conjuring movies.
I believe it was the first one I watched, where the ghost, she unalived her children in the river, and then unalived herself in her grief, and now she haunts like the manor and commits the same actions to anybody who lived there. It was the same one with like the hide and clap. That was terrifying to me. That was the only part of the movie that scared me. You just see the little hands come out of the darkness, and they just clap, and the little candle she's holding goes out.
Yeah, I've seen some movie trailer with that in it. Yeah.
And so, another thing I want to talk about real quick is ghost interaction devices. You know, EMF readers, spirit boxes, and I guess Ouija boards. and thermal cameras, I suppose, if you want to include those.
The Ouija board is the only thing I've ever touched out of all those things, and it did nothing. I love scaring people with them.
I'd love to mess around with a Ouija board with like a group of friends. The thing is, I don't trust my friends. No offense to any of them watching, but
They're all gonna try and do that.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I would too, but you know.
That reminds me, I don't know why I was at your house. But I think like the first time I went there and you showed me your goats and we were out in the woods back there and it got dark and like, I think we saw something and we started running. I don't know.
Living in the middle of nowhere
Doesn't dox yourself, by the way.
is a really
Like,
great
you don't live there
time.
anymore.
The floorboards creaking throughout the summer. My dad would always say that it was the leprechaun in the closet, which I don't know why he chose a leprechaun, but
Just to put it in perspective, is the house even still around or you sold it?
we sold it. Well, I mean, it's still up, but yeah, we sold it.
Well, I'm asking because like we were thinking about doing something like on site, like a ghost hunting thing, and honestly, your house would be up there for me.
Well,
At least
anyways,
the grounds of it.
hearing that there's a leprechaun in my closet throughout my childhood kind of made me terrified of walking in my own closet when I was, younger.
Yeah, I just bring up your house because I remember being like actively spooked and like looking over my shoulder when we were in the woods back there trying to get back to my car.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying at night in the woods.
I think your brother or somebody came after us on a 4-wheeler, and it was a different type of scary. But
Oh yeah, we used to side tangent. For fun, we used to do that. We had trails through the woods, and we'd send a group of kids out into the woods to run around the trails and hide. And then somebody, either on foot or on the 4-wheeler, would drive around and chase us down. And we'd
that's
have
what was
to
happening. Yeah.
we'd have to wait for a long period of time before we were allowed to head back to the house. It was like advanced hide and seek in the dark, where the only person with a flashlight is the person hunting.
Fun.
And it was pretty terrifying sometimes, hearing stuff rustling in the woods. One time we heard a loud fence gate slam whenever we really should have been the only people in the woods at that time. So yeah, that's terrifying. Anyway, side tangent over. Ghost interaction devices. So yeah, Ouija boards. I'd love to do it, but I can't trust my friends on it. But like, I mean, is that really the best way to communicate with a ghost? Just like a little one letter at a time? I mean, I suppose it's better than Charlie, Charlie. You remember that, right?
Is that the one with the pencils?
Yeah, 2 pencils, 2 yes squares, 2 no squares. It's like, Charlie, Charlie, are you there? And then it's like, twist to yes, but that, it's somebody lightly blowing on it, making the pencils move. Then there's EMF readers, which electromagnetic field readers. I'm not really sure how much that deals with ghosts. I heard people say they produce their own electric field, which...
Yeah, there are people who believe it's like, they put on a magnetic frequency, electromagnetic frequency, radio, Sometimes people just set a radio on the table, just flip their channels,
Yeah.
see what they hear.
Well, I believe that's a spirit box, isn't it?
Is that just what a spirit box is?
I looked it up in the past, I believe, but I'm pretty sure a spirit box is a device that quickly switches through a whole bunch of radio channels.
Oh, that's the gimmick, yeah.
Yeah, and then
okay.
honestly, I think out of all ghost detection devices, that one's my favorite, the spirit box. So much that I actually want to get my own one day just to mess with, because I think that'd be pretty cool to play around with.
Mm-hmm.
Even, I mean, I don't believe in ghosts, but that small hope inside of me that they are is in there, which is why I want a spirit box.
I still don't believe in ghosts, but that does remind me of a funny story. Well, kind of funny. It's kind of serious too. I'll just say, growing up Catholic, you know, I had religion teachers tell me all the time, like, people would ask, like, are ghosts real, like, in class? And the teachers would be like, yeah, they're very real. Just be dead serious to a bunch of 9-year-olds and just be like, yep, they're real. Demons are real. They are after you. I'm like, we haven't had lunch yet. I need to go get my chocolate milk. But anyway, she was like, yeah, no, they are very real, and you need to watch out for that. And that's, you know, praying helps you. And I'm like, if you say so, all right. So, but she told a story that, like, a church is connected to, at least my elementary school. We went to different schools. And she was like, I think it was like a mother brought in her son to our church, and he was possessed by a demon, and they performed an exorcism on him with a crucifix and holy water in that church. I'm like, ma'am, it is 10:30 in the morning, and we are 9. What do you bring this up for? But all that to say, it's a unique experience to, like, have grown out of the thought of believing in ghosts, but being part of a community where full-grown adults are very much believers in it. And I have a feeling you're in a similar situation, right?
I've never had an exorcism performed at my school.
No, I just mean like do people around you, like, I feel like maybe I'm around more religious people than you are.
I'm pretty antisocial, and I don't stay away from religious people. You know how you, like, attract certain people, and if y'all click together, y'all become friends? Well, most of the people I became friends with just so happened to not be religious. So, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, that all goes to say, like, the Catholic belief very much so is based upon, like, your soul going to a different place after you pass away, and there's purgatory, and some say that purgatory is when your soul's still lingering, you have to be cleansed to, you know, go to heaven.
Which, you're saying that ghosts, by the Catholic belief, are our souls lingering, right?
I'm not saying that's the Catholic belief. I'm saying I've heard some people say that may be the case, because, you know, the whole point of purgatory is, like, waiting. It's the waiting room to heaven.
All right.
I've heard some people say that. It's not I don't know what the Christian belief is, despite growing up Christian.
There are ghost animals, right? People claiming they've seen the ghost of an animal walking by, like a cat or a dog, where it then, like, disappears.
I mean, I don't know. Are you asking, like, does the Catholic Church
no,
or just in general?
Right now, I'm just asking.
Have people seen that?
Yes.
I'm sure, yeah.
Alright, which then leads me to the second thing is, I grew up learning by my religion teachers that animals don't have souls, they die, and they don't go to heaven with you. They're just gone forever, which, you know, is kind of a cruel thing to tell
That's another
kids.
thing. These religion teachers really be rocking our whole world at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Also, when we say religion teachers, some people may not know what that means. It's not like a Sunday school thing. It's built into our curriculum going to schools that have...
Ever since kindergarten, I think, I've been nothing to Catholic schools, which, quick side notes, if you want your kid to become atheist, send them to Catholic school for all of their life.
I'm gonna I'm gonna restate this and just say we do not represent the Christian faith whatsoever. But this is not a reinstatement of what our current faiths are. This is just
that's my personal story. I'm not saying that everyone who goes to Catholic school is an atheist. I'm just saying that that's how it happened for me. Hearing the same lessons each and every year, it felt like the same lessons. It felt like we learned nothing new in Catholic school.
We did have to take quizzes on the 10 Commandments every single day, and for some reason I could still not get a on it. But anyway, this is all to say, or to get to the topic that I sort of made this whole episode around, was our personal theories on the afterlife and ghosts. So my personal opinion is that, hear me out, is that the multiverse is real. Okay, so to go from there, I think that ghosts that we see, shadowy figures, apparitions, whatever we may see that we would consider a ghost, like a figure that's not really there, isn't necessarily a ghost in the traditional sense, like a relative or somebody who passed away and you see them, sort of see like a faint figure of them, but it's rather somebody from a dimension right on top of ours, and they're just sort of phasing through just a little bit. It's a dimension right next to ours. You can sort of see them just a little bit. So it could still work into the theory of ghosts, being that, like, say a relative did pass away in our universe, and the universe right next to ours, they continue to live. And you see sort of an apparition of them in our universe, since their absence is sort of made a void. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's my theory. I know it's actually probably more outlandish than just believing in somebody's soul, like, wandering the earthly plane, but it's fun to think about. The multiverse is fun to think about.
That's your theory on what ghosts are, but what do you believe happens when you die?
Still trying to figure that one out. My best guess is what happens before you're born.
Alright, and here's an interesting question. What do you wish is the truth about the afterlife?
Don't get me wrong, like, you know, there are a lot of faiths out there where they have a very pleasant afterlife, and I'd be happy with very many of them. Growing up Catholic, that's the first one that comes to my mind. But like, if it's true, like, you literally get to live in heaven with everything you could ever want, all your relatives, and everybody's happy and healthy, like, that's great.
Now, real quick before I touch into my beliefs about the afterlife, touching on what you said about ghosts being multiversal glitches coming into our world a bit. You're not the only one believing that. I see it right here on this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's an original theory.
Well, yeah, but it is an interesting theory
Oh,
nonetheless.
to connect to that, they also say, like, okay, we're three-dimensional beings. Like, we can move in 3 dimensions.
Then there's fourth dimensional beings who could move throughout time just as easily as we move.
Yeah, and they're just so over our heads that we can only see them as, like, an apparition. We can't fully grasp them, and that's another explanation for maybe what a ghost is.
Do you think they see us as, like, 2D animations?
That's
like,
what,
we're
that's
a
the
TV
best
show?
That's the best comparison.
And then,
I've
like,
heard, yeah.
a fifth dimensional being would see a fourth dimensional being as a TV show, and then the fifth dimensional will see us, the third dimensional, as just a still image.
Yes.
My belief on the afterlife, well, to start off with, I am not Catholic.
We're touching on a lot of religion. I didn't expect to throw this out there in this first episode, but don't be mad, please.
I am currently agnostic, I think is the word, where in reality you have no idea what's going on and you don't really care. It's not gonna affect your life.
Well, I feel like I'm a similar way, but I'm actively trying to figure it out. Like, if any evidence the universe can throw me to figure this out, I'll take it.
Well, here's the thing. If the Catholic God came down and told me that he was real and that I should do this, I'm afraid to say, but it wouldn't affect my life. I mean, theoretically, as long as you live a good and pious life, then pious means, like, you know, morally correct, right?
I don't know if it's, like, morality in connection with a god specifically, or just, but I know what you mean. You just mean, like, a moral life.
As long as you're a good person,
Yeah.
then you won't get screwed over in the Catholic afterlife. You don't specifically have to believe in God.
You follow the 10 Commandments, and you believe, well, for Catholicism, you have to believe in God and follow the 10 Commandments.
As long as I live a good moral life, I would be fine. No matter what religion is true, I'm not gonna change how I act or live my life to conform to whatever higher beings are there. But as I was continuing, I am agnostic. I don't have any idea what's going on.
I mean, I know for a fact that, our energy gets recycled. So in a way, reincarnation is already known to happen. But
Well,
some
yeah,
may argue
yeah.
that's the physical person and the soul is not physical.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people are saying like, oh, there's studies where like the body loses 21 grams after death. Like, unfortunately, that's shit.
And like another thing about the human body, like, oh, where does the energy go after you die? Everywhere. Energy can't be destroyed or created. It can only be transformed, which is why my sister believes in ghosts. She believes that's the energy being transformed. My theory on the afterlife, I have no goddamn clue. I would like it to all just turn out to be, hey, you're just dreaming, you wake up, and then you forget about this life that you were having, and then you live that one, you die again, think it's a dream, go through it all again, and it's just an endless cycle repeating. That kind of sounds like hell, but
like the Matrix, but slightly less worse.
Yeah, slightly less worse. But
So
in truth,
multiverse versus slightly less worse Matrix.
which
Take your choice.
you could also decide.
Give us some feedback in the comments. Which one do you want to happen?
Or you could also tell us, what do you think is the worst possible outcome of an afterlife?
Or just their idea. They're the worst.
I'm interested in what they think the worst possible afterlife could be.
Leave both, please. We'd love to read them. You'd love to read one of those answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, real quick. Another thing I don't understand, well, not that I don't understand, it's just that in Catholicism or Catholic, is it the same thing?
Yeah, just to explain it to the audience too, it's not the same thing.
I thought not.
There's Christianity, which is just a belief in like Jesus Christ as the prophet of God, that he became human, and lived among us and blah blah blah.
Among
And
us.
then Catholicism is a what they call a sect of Christianity. So it's the equivalent of like Baptist or Episcopalian, where it's basically like the foundation is in Christianity, but it has slightly different beliefs. I think ours has something to do with the Nicene Creed. We acknowledge it, and other sects don't. I don't know.
Anyway,
Something like that.
what I want to say on Catholic religion is I don't see. They say that when you die and if you go to heaven, it'll be eternally happiness and joy. How can that be? How can something be eternally perfect?
If we said anything horribly wrong about any of these religions listed today, we're sorry. I didn't mean to, but just know it's coming from a place of wanting to know more. But
And if we are horrible people and morally corrupt, let us know.
all right, well, thank you for watching, everybody, for this first episode of Unknown. We really appreciate you sticking all the way through, watching to the end. We'd love to hear some feedback in the comments. This is our first episode. We want to know how to improve this show. Less so on the technical aspect. I kind of know what I need to fix, but I just don't have the capabilities to do that right now. But just on like topics I want to hear, content, whatever. Yeah, so thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate that. I'm thinking about weekly uploads. And I just realized now, it's my Halloween Horror Night shirt, like we talked about earlier. But yes, so thank you for watching. But where have we been this whole time?
I think we might be a bit lost. We'll see y'all next time.